So remind me again, you binged on it like you finished it before me, didn't you? Altered Carbon 2. You finished it before Altered Carbon 2. You finished it before me, didn't you?
I did. Pretty much the first 24, maybe 48 hours it was
Oh my
out.
god.
All 8 episodes.
How is that possible? Because I remember like that night when I came from work and you're like, oh, I'm done. I'm just like, fuck.
Yeah, I was just fresh off AC season 1, and I thought, well, no better way to just dive into season. Um, Gee, Anthony, Anthony Mackie. I don't know.
Really?
I'm still not sold on him as the character, but overall, in summary, season 2, does flow on from season 1 in terms of the narrative and Kovac's story, his backstory, and all of his sort of friends, like Falconer, Poe. And I should add
Yeah.
one little cool tidbit. After watching Jack Ryan
Ooh.
2 seasons a few weeks, I noticed Dina Shihabi is also a character in this show. In Jack Ryan, she played the terrorist's wife, so one of the main characters in
Right.
Jack Ryan, and she appeared as another main character in this series. So it's just cool to 2 different sort of series within a few weeks, and the same characters sort of overlapping.
Oh, okay. Because I haven't seen Jack Ryan season 2. I know I saw season 1 back in the day, and then for some strange reason I had
Well, yeah,
season 2.
She only appears in season 1, I believe. So
Oh. Oh,
if
that's
you go
awkward.
back further, yeah.
Oh, but well, definitely because I definitely want to talk about the Jack Ryan series because at one stage because that's a mad story. But okay, I want to start off with Anthony Mackie. So why? What is it that's not clicking with you? Interestingly, because that's a really interesting thing you said.
Um, I don't know. I was so obsessed with the previous Kovacs character, John Kinnaman. He really fit the role. He really sold me on playing the character, that grit, that self-loathing sort of feel. Anthony Mackie just seems too polished, too I don't know, too good for the like too good for his skin.
Like he,
Tries to play badass, but it doesn't really work.
yeah. So even though it's supposed to be the same character to Takeshi, or definitely Japanese enthusiasts would be Japanese or enthusiast would be is Takashi or Takeshi Kovacs. Anyway, um, even though it's supposed to be the same character, you think that because he's in a different sort of look of Anthony Mackie, it's like too, I don't know, clean or too more heroic. Is that what you? If that's what sort of you're trying to lean towards?
Maybe, and that's after coming off season 1, I think I was just really hoping for someone to still have that sort of grit about them. But it just feels that Mackie's character is a much less sort of gritty character than Kinnaman played.
For me, I think I know what you're saying, and from
Especially after watching him. Sorry, man. So especially
no,
after
no.
watching him so close together, it, I feel for Mackie. He has to outperform. Want to outperform. He's shattered by Kinnaman. Kinnaman did such a great. Like, do you agree? Kinnaman fit the role for season 1 to a T. Just everything about him.
Yeah. I think due to the circumstances, I think what happened is that due to the circumstances of the story, definitely, he just, yeah, it was. You're right. The self-loathing, the trying to get to grips with this sort of like being on ice for about 250 years, and then he gets a job offer, and it's just like, yeah, I don't really care about this. Let me just go back on ice and I see you all in hell or some shit. And then he gets, he starts finding out the history of Kelker's Falconer and all that stuff. Yeah, I think in a sense you're right, and all the comments that I've been seeing around the world and on the internet have had the same feelings as you do. And then of course there's some people who have had the extreme feelings saying that Anthony Mackie was like a really, really poor choice. For me, I didn't have too much of an issue. I think I just tried to play it off as best as I can with what the situation was allowing, and I think this one. Um,
He's a good actor, man. Don't let me downplay or downgrade his ability to act. He's definitely talented, but I just feel that for this role, for the person that he's trying to portray, I just feel that Kinnaman had a stronger persona and matched that persona. Mackie just didn't feel had the same match, in my opinion.
yeah, I think yeah, I definitely know what you mean. Because again, I think it's also circumstantial with the story that was happening, where um, the story in Altered Carbon 2 was just more of a God, it was more of an obsession. You know what I mean? Literally from the get go, he's got a military
It's just
sleeve.
it's memories, man. He's just chasing ghosts, chasing his memories of the past.
And I think that's what was different between him, his character, this portrayal of Takeshi Kovacs. I don't want to say Kovacs, and then Joel Kinnaman's Takeshi Kovacs was that Joel Kinnaman's portrayal of him was just all over the place. He had to try and find some backup, or he was trying to build loyalty in terms of those memories, but it was more of a trying to adapt to his surroundings after being literally away from the world at 250 years. And then with Altered Carbon 2, it's almost as if like Altered Carbon 2 has you started almost the analogy, you got to crawl before you walk and you got to walk before you run. It was almost at I think at a power walking stage when we got into Altered Carbon 2 episode 1, and then by the end of it we're already running. So I think also as well with Anthony Mackie's how they had to the story around him for season 2, there just wasn't much for him to really do. It was just massive obsession, dude. Like massive now that I think about it. And he didn't have to do all these like side missions, or he didn't have to he didn't have any interruptions like Bancroft's wife banging him and all that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. It was, and that's what I mean. Mackie didn't have a very gritty or dirty sort of series to play out, whereas Kinnaman, I felt, had all that. I don't know, just I guess the type of character. Maybe they tried to go with a different direction with Mackie, given the type of person he is. And I'm not sure.
Possibly that too, and then also again, I think it's the storyline that sort of inhibited things, because now just to segue into what I was saying was is that he didn't have those distractions. He wasn't having sex with the Latina cop and Bancroft's
Yeah.
wife,
Oh,
and
look, Mackie does have chemistry romantically with Falconer as the series goes on. So I think you can see the chemistry there. But I guess
but
his
also.
predecessor
Mm.
Kinnaman just I think left it difficult for Mackie to step in as the character.
But I also think as well that you noticed how not as gritty and not as what's it called, as raw this particular season
I'm
was like
pretty
the first one.
sure last podcast you mentioned boobs a lot.
Well, yeah, boobs and vagina and all that stuff. But did you realize that there was barely anything here?
Yeah, it was a very cleaned up series this season 2.
I'm wondering if I have to look behind the scenes if there's been any sort of complaints or anything like that, because for me that's where I think the rawness was definitely different compared to the first season. There wasn't much of it. Yes, you had your love scene, but other than that, um, that was really it, because it was more. the other thing as well is, as the story goes on, he's being hunted by the Protectorate, and then we find out who the actual Protectorate really is. That guy who is Colonel
Yeah,
Carrera.
he's re-sleeved himself as well,
Colonel Carrera has re-sleeved himself.
trying to create his own legacy.
Right, trying to create his own legacy after he's botched responsibility of Takeshi Kovacs, who cost him, I think, who put him on ice, and then they only use him for certain missions, and then he just goes back on ice. So Colonel Carrera, he was a good protagonist, but also the what was it? Hansland, the mayor, the governor.
What Danica
Yeah,
Harlan?
Governor
Yeah.
Danica Hansland. I forgot her name.
Harlan.
Harlan. So she had a bit of a more of a that was a weird scene. Like she was banging some guy who re-sleeved himself into the dad of the daughter. That was weird.
Oh yeah, early on, yeah.
That was some weird shit.
Again, like the first series, just the rich doing what they want because they can, really.
Yeah, and she's supposed to be the daughter of this guy and governs her own planet and all that stuff. But yeah, it was the rich. Um, it was showcasing the rich again. Um, and then
So Kovacs, yeah, so he's back on his own planet, Harlan's world.
yeah, he's kind of back on that. The thing is as well with this with the story, I just thought that it was good to see, you know, being back on sort of that sort of world, but at the same time, it kind of didn't really give too much in terms of more. I don't know, more Takeshi Kovacs stuff because it was always about again, it was always about Calcris Falconer, and
Correct, yeah. I felt like it was her series.
it would, yeah, that's actually a good statement. I was just thinking about that. Like,
You know, the premise behind the series is good. There's definitely a lot of potential for it to be expanded. I think, if you play on from season one, understanding humanity and identity, regardless of what sleeve you're in and what physical appearance it looks like, I think the whole future of, being disposable, that still sort of underlines this series, but not as prominent as the first series where people were just re-sleeving willy-nilly. There was a lot more, I guess, reference to the stacks being, strung up and like all that sort of gear.
it felt.
I think yeah.
Sorry, you go.
No, I was just saying, yeah, I felt they've left all that core story behind and just felt like they just focused on Falconer, pretty much on her story.
Agreed. Yeah, actually agreed because definitely the first season was heavy. If I'm quoting like Back to the Future, like heavy. It is heavy. This one almost it wasn't as heavy. Sure, it had its moments for sure, but it just wasn't raw, and it wasn't as heavy. And yes, it felt like it wasn't Takeshi Kovacs' story anymore. It was more of a Calcris Falconer. Why is she doing this? And just the hunting, and the chasing. I mean, there was a lot of cat and mouse. The Protectorate and Kovacs, and then Kovacs and Falconer, and then the bounty hunter, the lady with the new coils in her
Yeah,
head.
see, even her, she's just come into it out of nowhere. Fair enough, introducing new characters, but I just didn't.
I couldn't click.
I, no, I didn't feel her place.
Yeah, her character just didn't click with me.
No.
Um, I mean, yeah, she has
Trip,
family.
bounty hunter Trip.
Bounty hunter Trip. Yeah, she
And
had.
she saves the season. She goes out and hacks the orbitals just like that, right?
Right, or distracting them long enough, yeah, for what happened in the end. Um, but yeah, for some reason you're right. It just didn't really click for me. She didn't really click.
Yeah, I mean, she had her own mission. She had her own passion. She had a family. She was a lesbian. Okay, cool. They had a bit of flair, and and she seemed to be entertaining to watch on the screen, but I just didn't feel she fit in to this story. I don't know.
Definitely a side character for sure. Definitely.
100%. And same as Poe's new bestie, Dig,
Oh
Miss
man,
Dig,
we haven't even
Dina
talked about
Shah.
Poe.
Yeah, Dina Shah. Poe, I love him as a character. He's just my favorite.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about him until now. So yeah, this was such a sad. This was also actually now I feel as if like now that I mentioned Poe, a Falconer and Poe story, because Poe just starts off being deteriorated from something. He's got a
yeah,
glitch.
so season one he gets nuked, but he seems to have found his way
His way
back
back.
being AI, but obviously he's come with some glitches into his software. And it does a Poe's story does resonate with me. Memories you accumulate over years, the fear of losing those memories. That's I can see. There's life experiences. So much has happened to just lose all of that. Yeah, I feel for him, man.
You say that resonates with you on a personal level. Are you saying like in terms of like Alzheimer's in a sense, if we were talking the real world?
Yeah, man. My grandma deteriorated with Alzheimer's before she passed. It's just sad. Like her life, sort of all of her memories and all of her experiences just sort of deteriorate as she deteriorated. It's sad.
Mm, yeah,
But one day, you never know. Maybe we can back these up into stacks.
into stacks, into teraflop hard drives. Who knows?
That's right.
With Poe, I think yeah, that was definitely a great sort of story that he had to overcome a challenge, and he was still maintaining his humanity. Um,
Correct. He proves very human throughout the series as it goes on. I was
more
very
human,
impressed.
more human than again with Kovacs and Anthony Mackie's character. So,
Yes.
and the weird thing is, I was watching behind the scenes or interviews, and I didn't realize he's not British. He's actually American himself.
Oh, yeah. See, there you go.
Yeah, so he plays a great British character or accented character, and again, I think what they did with his story and his deterioration until the very last end, like, yeah, you're right. It is almost on par as if it was, unfortunately, in reality, Alzheimer's, where he forgets, but at the same time, also he is trying everything in his power to not have it overcome him, and he uses post-it notes.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. A shame that he missed the key post-it note early on about the bio tracking.
That's true. But at the same time, I mean, that just shows how Kovacs was relying on him, even though Kovacs was rather brash and didn't treat him too well. But again, Poe says that he kept him around, or he never left him behind. And
I
then
did appreciate that last scene where Poe and Kovacs have a drink as Poe comes to the realization that he has to power down. That's those two guys have been through a lot in the two series, so that was good to see them having a drink together and being real.
having that moment, yeah, and keeping it and having that, yeah, you're right. Um, Also, I think at the time of his deterioration, where that poignant moment where he goes, "Oh, he's never gonna leave me behind," and then eventually, he finds, like you mentioned a few moments ago, Dig 303 or
Yeah,
something, and then she gets recruited, and then he pays her, and then his Poe is actually replaced, and then that was a that was a bit of a shocking moment because I didn't think that he would do that, but because Poe was in denial and every time he got those glitches and whatever, it was to Kovacs' mission or his obsession, whatever you
yeah,
want to
it was
call it.
proved to be a liability, sadly.
Exactly. He proved to be a liability, and then Dig was there. But then, interestingly enough, Dig actually becomes a liability because somebody else walks into the picture from the Protectorate, and it's Takeshi Kovacs.
And just hacks her. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's I saw this in the credits. So Takeshi Kovacs comes back in his birth sleeve as, as the Protectorate, but Colonel Carrera has double sleeved Kovacs, and Kovacs has been in virtual land for God knows how long, and he hasn't. I think that's it's implied he's been there for pretty much since the other Kovacs was on ice for 250 plus years, because he doesn't know anything about his sister. He doesn't know anything about what has happened in the previous season. So in the credits, they call it Takeshi Kovacs, I think Prime, and then Takeshi Kovacs Anthony Mackie.
Ah, nice.
So yeah, to differentiate both the both both beings. So that was actually an interesting addition to the story where the original, not the original, but should we say the original? I'm actually very confused.
The birth sleeve Kovacs.
The burst sleeve Kovacs makes a comeback, and he still thinks that he works for the Protectorate, and then he has that relationship between Anthony Mackie's Takeshi Kovacs, that was there since season one, and takes out his sister and blah blah blah. Like he's trying to sway him to get away from the Protectorate, and there was again cat and mouse there with the two Takeshi Kovacses. So that was an interesting, I think, an interesting arc to do, and it was really great to see the Burst Sleeve come back, and because he's such a great actor, that guy is so
True.
underrated.
Yeah, we don't see enough of him, do we?
No, we don't, and that's the thing with I think with the American TV series and whatever. Now I think they have to move on to the fact that with there's been black representation for or African American representation for so long now, and we should be getting some Asians in there and whatnot. And yeah, I just thought that it was really great to see him, you know, get into some action, get into some mind games, and then it's his burst sleeve. He's kind of like this really noobish Takeshi Kovacs, where the other one, is more, I don't know, he's lived a little bit more compared to this guy because he's been in virtual land for God knows how long since the last mission. So
Very true.
the other thing that I'm just trying to think of, because interestingly enough, right, is there anything I'm forgetting? Because now that I've actually talked about it or tried to talk as much about it, it kind of feels to me that yeah, maybe there's some people on the internet that are really, they've recognized this a lot more than I have, where yeah, comparing it to the first season, this one was also 2 episodes shorter, right? It was only 8 episodes.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, I felt like I could have had more.
Yeah, right?
Just
So
more to binge.
more to binge and maybe more story to flesh out, but who knows? Maybe they run out of budget. I don't know. But um,
No, it feels like they had a decent budget, man. The the visuals aesthetically, like season one, was awesome, man. On the screen, neon lights, the cinematography, the angle, like the darkness of it all, the many fight sequences, and I love that Asian sort of clan, the Japanese
oh
yakuza
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that he runs into as part
Oh
of
yeah,
the
Boone.
elders. Yeah, yeah, they were pretty cool. But yeah, very clean fight scenes. A lot more gun work. Not so much hand to hand knives and stuff. Just a lot of, and maybe there was more guns in season one. I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to say because they both had their good action scenes, though. Um, I'm actually kind of struggling to talk about anything else. Actually, wait, hold on. I shouldn't be struggling because the whole talk about Harlan's World and the Elders, they introduced that, and I was just like, what is
Yeah, the
going on?
elders. Yeah, that was interesting. But yeah, so apart from the world, the dynamic of the world, that was good. The characters I felt were, I guess, a bit thin outside of Falconer, their stories and whatnot.
Well, because here's the thing, right? Because we haven't spoken about the Elder until now. So Falconer, as part of the story, we don't know why she's on the run. We don't know why she's, killing people and just being so. Because her mission was to, when they find her, is the mission is to, kill several high-ranking figures on Harlan's World. And then this is like some weird Matrix shit. She manages to have the elders, or one of the elders, infiltrate her stack, and is just controlling her. And she has such a great mind and will of her own. She can contend the both of them. And then you just find out about the story of Danica Harlan, the governor, and her dad's legacy about what seems to be a simple, uh, in essence, it's a simple issue that happened or incident that happened, but when you think about it deeply, it was a slaughter and genocide.
Yeah, and that was interesting. It's a shame that that story only fleshed out the last two episodes, but the elders and their backstory, um, and the Harlan, the father, that was only sort of coming through the late episodes.
See, that's the thing. That's was again, I was actually about to say that maybe they could have done more to make it to 10 episodes.
Yeah, I
What?
I did I did like the how they sort of left it open for potentially a season three.
What?
You know, interesting to see that Dig 301 sort of survives, and you sort of see her running the hotel, and then Poe pops up out of nowhere after what was
Several
it,
months.
3 months, 10 days, 12 hours, and 55 seconds.
That's the one.
He appears in the Nevermore hotel lobby again.
But
But what really got me, what was awesome, was what he wrote down on his last post-it note. Did you notice?
no, do
He
tell.
wrote he wrote down a little message before he left Kovacs to sort of burn, saving the world. He wrote down it happened to be a decryption key on a post-it note.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
that,
yeah.
yeah, and that's where you see Dig 301 and him sort of upload it and download it, and they realized there was a DHF.
Yeah, but for who though?
Wow. Did you notice Dig's comment? Better get the good whiskey ready?
Well, okay, here's the thing though, because that's another thing that because it must be Takeshi Kovacs, right?
Yes,
Because
yeah, he's the only one that has the whiskey, and not the birth sleeve Takeshi, but the original, the OG, season one, season two Takeshi.
yeah, that's the thing though. So okay, they managed to. So there's, as far as a lot of people or the world knows, including, well, unfortunately, the governor who freaking died, dumbass bitch. Um, Kovacs is in his birth sleeve, and then this one, that was kind of, yeah. I gathered it was supposed to be him because Kovacs has never whatchamacallit, he's never had a backup. Like, you
No,
remember in the,
but obviously Poe had worked something out to, I don't know, back up his DHF, his
yeah,
digital human freight.
that's the one.
You know, Poe being so human and so attached to Kovacs obviously had planned for this moment, maybe had used the programming of Diggs 301 to store memory to back up him. I'm not sure. But I think the whole gesture of Poe using every last bit of his time to download and back up Kovacs is pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll definitely agree with that because it's a you're right. It is quite the human gesture to essentially save his life because Takeshi Kovacs' Anthony Mackie version, God, he got killed in the worst way possible. So,
Burned
god
alive.
damn.
So season 3, man, I'd like to think that it'll just pick up where that left off. That's if they
May
make a season 3. I'm not
maybe,
sure.
but I have my death a little bit on that. But I'll tell you in a second. What I also wanted to address was Dig's character. Not much of her in this season.
No, not at all.
Definitely a side character. She helped where she could, but then she got cracked by Protectorate Takeshi Kovacs. Uh, and then, oh, actually, we didn't talk about the other one who went kaput, which was Colonel Carrera, who was AKA the Jägermeister.
Jaeger.
Jaeger, that's the one. So it's just like, this obsession. He had an obsession with Takeshi Kovacs, almost like beyond. I think at one stage I was just like, "Yo, Jaeger, you like need to, keep that thing in those pants." Like,
Well, his story is pretty simple. He wants to have a legacy where he wants to be remembered, really.
but he really liked Takeshi Kovacs for some reason.
Yeah.
Like again, I think almost bordering like maybe I don't know love. I don't know love for a father and a son, some weird crap like that. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah, well, see, his character's. pr- pr- I mean, his character from is gone. I don't know if he's got a DHF. Who knows? But look, going back to what you were saying about season 3, the only thing that I just don't. The reason why I'm going to find it hard if they do a season 3, but if they do a season 3, I'm all for it. But I just don't know what story they could go with now because literally, um, Takeshi Kovacs DHF, which we all think it's him, not Takeshi Kovacs in the birth sleeve, he's now literally got no purpose to really be around because Calcris Falconer, after essentially helping and then killing that particular elder, she, she's gone back to, or she's already told Takeshi Kovacs that I just, I just wish I hadn't met you in some way. You remember?
Yeah, in episode 7, she does say that.
And then it's like, okay, because then you remember how Takeshi Kovacs Prime in the bird sleeve asked her at the end where he goes, so where are you going to go to now? I don't know. Best not I tell you, blah blah blah. But where I go to, I'm just going to start again. So I'm just like, her obsession with this revolution is, it's just it's an obsession, and
Yeah,
it's
she's
going to
moving to the next planet to start up the uprising there.
exactly just start up an uprising. So I'm just like, okay, and then she just literally just says, look, she'll always love Takeshi Kovacs, but he's essentially she implied that he's just a distraction to her. So I'm just like, oh, like. There's no reason for Takeshi Kovacs to really chase after her now because she's made her point clear, and then all that chasing, all that the memories that he had with her, like you would think that if he was going to be spun up into another sleeve and his stack to be reproduced from the DHF, what does he do? Like, I mean, in a sense, on one side of the coin, he's got a lot of things to do, or there's a lot of possibilities, whatever. But at the same time, it's like the first 2 seasons, and then the third season comes out. The first 2 seasons, you were obsessed with Calcris Falconer, but now she's told you, "Not you're a distraction. I wish you didn't visit me." And then, yeah, now she's just gonna start an uprising. So where does it go from here? It's just a lone wolf detective, really, or lone wolf sort of mercenary.
He's got no purpose anymore.
That's the thing. That's what I was trying to say, but I just wasn't saying it eloquently.
Well, that's what I'll have to see in season 3 if we ever get a season 3.
What
I'm
do
not
you,
sure
but what
after
do you
this
think?
reception of season 2 that they've got enough story to flesh out for a season 3.
What are you hoping to see if they do make a season 3? Like, just spitballing. What ideas do you think you'd want to see?
Gee, I have no idea, man. I'd like I like Kovac's story to be more prominent, to really sort of come through about where he's been, all of his experience. Um, but I guess he's a soldier. End of the day, he's an envoy. All he can do is really fight, be a detective. I don't know. Yeah, maybe his story's shallow there.
I would tend to agree as well because season two never talked about the envoy intuition as well. Why does he see through yellow? They didn't address that. Like the first season.
They really didn't have much of that.
No. No, they didn't really address the envoy intuition. Like, sure, he may know the small
Well, they didn't
details.
have any of that special sort of effects for him.
That's the one.
They just gave him a upgraded body with strength and speed, agility.
And summoning guns to his hands.
Yeah, that was only you only see that once,
A few times,
maybe
few
twice.
times, but
Maybe.
it's not it's not used as a big thing.
No,
Okay, is there anything else that possibly you would think that they would? I mean, do you want to see more boobs? You want to see more raw sex scenes? You want to see more, say for example, more raw violence or more raw sort of, I don't know, sort of
definitely
more raw
the
storytelling?
yeah the raw the fight scenes, and the dark grittiness, definitely.
I agree.
You know, keep it on that wavelength. You know that it is an alternative reality to humanity. It's a dark and disgusting sort of reality. That's the way it should be. That the poor are poor, the rich are rich, and nothing's taboo. Just like in season one.
Yeah, I think just you saying that sort of sums up what season two wasn't really about. There wasn't.
No, it felt very G-rated, so to
See,
speak.
yeah, interesting how now that we've talked about it and we've discussed it, you kind of see like massive comparisons. It's like I was
Look,
saying,
not that I'm wanting to watch a porno, man. That's not what I'm here for. I just season one was just so captivating because it was so raw and so gritty, and then season two was very tidy in comparison.
that's a good description of it. It was tidy, and definitely not raw. In some places, sure, but it just didn't have that overall feel, you know, like um Digi whatever her name was, Digi 303, Dig 303. Okay. Not much AI archaeology program, whatever. But it wasn't like definitely like the side characters of season one where Vernon, you know, the combat medic and then his hacker
Yeah,
wife and then the daughter. Like, yeah, there's got to be. Oh, that's another thing we didn't address. Man, how many times was Lizzie in this movie?
yeah, that's cool that she reappears as part of his sort of imagination or memory.
Almost rehab.
Yeah, I don't mind that. The recurring characters, I think that's a good way of keeping them relevant to the story. They still have a place. So that was cool.
Well,
And
yeah,
especially he was very attached to Lizzie, you know, during that whole mind procedure thing. So that was all right.
the psychotherapy, yeah. Um, but interestingly enough, where they put Anthony Mackie in that fight ring and they're betting on him, and then it's like, oh, he fights Ortega, he fights Vernon, he fights his sister, and then actually we didn't even touch base on the fact that his sister tortured Falconer for so many years.
Yeah, that was interesting sort of flip to the puzzle there.
But the interesting part is only Takeshi Kovacs' protectorate Prime saw that. Our Takeshi Kovacs that we know from season one never saw that. So it just shows that also how devious his sister was and how twisted she became. Like Falconer saw. That was a nice. I think that was a nice addition to call back to the character as well. But
Yeah,
the only thing now is, like I was saying before about the future, no family, No real connections other than Poe and probably Dig. Falcon is on a different tangent. Uh,
Yeah,
Protectorate, Takeshi Kovacs, unknown. Probably going to join up with her, it seems. Um, and then Poe, most likely going to stick with original Takeshi Kovacs, and then the Elders. I don't know if they want to explore that, considering how the Elders are more of a alien species than human.
yeah, that's true. You don't get too much. You don't get to hear too much of them.
No, other than the fact that they were really wanting vengeance, and they chose Falconer, and Falconer made a deal. Um, Governor's gone. Uh, Colonel Carrera, Jaeger's gone. So definitely, it's almost as if like if they were going to start a season three, it's definitely wiped the slate clean, or they they do figure out something in terms of his memories and whatever. Because definitely, I think one of the things that they didn't explore, which they brought back a cameo in season one. Do you remember that? Obviously, where he in season one, where he got annihilated by Jaeger with the woman that he was with in the beginning of that of season one,
Oh yes.
with that character or with that guy that I only remember him from playing as he played. What did he play as? I think he played as Ryu in the Van Damme Street Fighter movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe they could look into that or just the other many sleeves that he's sort of been in. But what I was going to completely forget and say, or which I forgot about the DHF thing, interestingly, he was in the very first episode. He was the Asian singer. How interesting was that?
Yeah, that was cool. I did, that caught me by surprise.
Yeah, so it's just
That
like
that Poe was sort of being um, sort of tethered from his necklace. That's yeah, that was pretty cool.
that was really nice, considering that he wasn't supposed to able to get out of the
That's right. Yeah, he's supposed to be gone. That's right.
or but also he couldn't really get out of the hotel. So
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he was confined to the hotel. That's right.
and then he had him tethered. So hmm.
Look, I think overall the story itself definitely felt downgraded than season one. Season one was hard hitting, gritty, dark. Season two was a lot lighter than what it could have been in
Mm.
comparison. Um, look, credit to Mackie for still trying to fill the shoes of Kinnaman, but I think it was just a tough. You know, he's a good actor in general. It's just I don't think he suited this character or this genre of character. I believe.
I was just thinking the same thing. I don't think science fiction is really
Mm.
his forte, definitely. I mean, he tried and he did the best that he could with the material that he was given,
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
but
I watched the series. Look, I still enjoyed it. I guess I didn't enjoy it as much as I enjoyed season one. Season one was unreal.
right?
I mean, look, having a new lead with each season makes sense. That's again part of the book, so that's not too bad.
Ah,
I
yes, the
just,
books.
yeah, I just feel that, yeah, I don't know, the story seemed to be focusing on everyone except Kovacs, which I thought Altered Carbon was about Kovacs. Well, that's what that's what I feel it should have been.
True. And then season one was ultimately about Kovacs, but for some strange reason, what I think also season one did deliver well was the side characters. al- Almost by the end
Yeah,
of, well, not even almost, by the end of season one, rose to main characters. Ortega, even Abood,
true.
Poe definitely, and then and then the sister, even the sister, even though she came in late, like we talked about in the
She
last
still,
time.
yeah, she still made an impact. She was engaging. Her characters, they had layers. These side characters, their layers felt very flimsy, irrelevant, and just filler. Sadly,
Yeah. Now that we talk about it, yeah, it's you're right. I mean, we try and give credit where it is due, but then once you talk about it and you just sort of just realize, oh, from a different point of view, it's like, okay, uh, well, now, now that he said that, or now that I think about it again, yeah. Well, I mean, last question then. Uh,
Yes.
out of five,
Did we do out of 5 last time? Out of
we
10? We did
did.
out of 5.
No, out of
We did out of
five.
5.
Keep it simple, man.
Yeah. Look, I'd probably say 2.5 out of 5 this one, man.
Wow, I thought I was waiting for 3.5.
Nah, nah, look, again, like I mentioned earlier, the story, the lack of grit and depth in the story lost me. It was still engaging. I loved the fight scenes. I loved the involvement of that Yakuza sort of Alda. It was pretty cool.
Oh, you bro.
Yeah, but just not enough grit, man. Like there was still punching and a bit of blood, a bit of violence. Yeah, but and the scenery, that noir feel was still there, but not as much as season one, man. It was you could tell season one put they put out all the stops. They really went heavy on engaging with the scenery, the everything on screen just was caught my eye, man. So bright, but just the grit of it all, and the story focused around Kovacs and how he would narrate his story, in between. This one had none of that.
Oh, really? I thought I heard Mackie talk about it, but maybe that was just
Not as much, man. Not as much.
not as much. Okay.
So look, that's it. AC2 done. Mackie should stick to Hollywood, I guess. TV is hard, man. TV is different. It's had
Or
yours.
or he'll stick to G-rated or
Or maybe do
PG-13.
something else. A character, he might fit that build for. I just don't feel he fit this build.
Yeah, because his movies are very realistic or sort of realistic, whatever. But in terms of TV series, we'll be next seeing Mackie as obviously Captain America and the Winter Soldier,
Yeah,
or Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But that's again sort of his domain. Or if he was doing a realistic film, which is actually coming out soon, called The True Story of the Banker. Um, that's sort of his realm. But science fiction, I mean, he dabbled into it, but even I think he must be thinking, there's not. I don't think he would want to, or he probably may
redo
not
something like
jump.
this again. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't
maybe,
think he'll
maybe,
jump
but I
into
don't
it
know.
again. It may be more of a. It's just I don't think it really. I don't know. Like I said, I think he did the best that he could with what was written, but I
Oh,
don't think.
correct.
I think he was probably one of his more uncomfortable roles in terms of based on what he usually has fun with and whatever.
Yeah, you
But
definitely have to work for it. That's for sure.
oh yeah, so for me, I would probably have to give it a three, because I know I gave it like I think the season one I gave it definitely like 4.5 out of 5 or something. Yeah, it was out of 5 because I remember the
Yeah, it
half
was strong.
was.
It was strong.
Yeah, and I remember the half I gave the season one was got to do with the sister, but now that we look into season two compared to that, yeah, it's still 4.5, but at the same time, I've give more. Unfortunately, I have to give definitely more credit to her and the way that they handled that character because with this one, like you said, yeah, the rawness wasn't there. We didn't see as much boobies and as much vaginas and
Classic.
whatever. Yeah, but at the same time, it's like the rawness wasn't there, and the you could see the differences between the rich and the poor. But it's more of a the colors were more the rich were up in the clouds, whereas this one was in well not really in the clouds, and then they had this orbital weapon or stuff like that. I was just like and then the elders was a little bit too rushed, I think.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think the standout performance definitely for me would be uh, actually just Poe. Actually, no, Poe and Takeshi Kovacs Prime, which was the birth sleeve. And I'll give credit to Falconer as well. I mean, she has to play two different characters, and there was quite a lot of violence on her part in terms of the killings. But other than that, I mean, yeah, you're right. I think Mackie was out, not out of his element, so to speak, but it was definitely he dipped into it, and then I don't think he's going to dip into it again later.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, Alter Carbon season two. What? In essence, yeah. I don't know. I don't want to call it a bummer, but it's definitely something that I mean I could watch it again, but uh, more relaxed. I think if I was to watch season one again, I definitely still want to be 100% full on, like, into it, because yeah, it's just something that season one captured a lot of things, emotions and whatever, where season two was more, yeah, it was sort of lighter. I mean, did they even rate it R? I don't know.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, there you go. That's a big indication as well. But I don't know, man. But I will say this: like, if you were saying earlier before about the character that you saw from Jack Ryan in this, should I look into Jack Ryan?
I believe so, man. That should be the next project you've got. Sit down and get through Jack Ryan. Season one was definitely on par with Altered Carbon season one. Very engaging, set the foundation. Season two was a bit more sort of flimsy in terms of story development, character development, but I'll let you be the judge.
Hmm. Or am I supposed to see Watchmen? I don't know. I should probably just.
Oh, Watchmen, that was a good 9 or so episodes too. That was really weird. It got really disjointed and weird through the middle, and then
Ooh.
it sort of finished strong.
Ooh. All right, I'm gonna pick your brain on the next one, sir. On that one, because that may be the next one. Because right now, I think I need something to. I don't know. I don't want to give. I don't want to hang shit on Alter Carbon season two, but I need something to sort of lift. You know what I mean? Kind of lift.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go. Got to lift somewhere.